slowly. This hangout on here is now live. Okay, now the live yellow button is on. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, I can see myself on the big screen right now. Good morning. Oh, I should say good afternoon. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is Spirit Journey, and today is Saturday. And I hope you all had a very, very good day. What time is it now? Let me see. It's after 8 p.m. Okay. Wow. All the thing I can say right now is wow, what a day that I had. It was it had a lot of stress involved in it. I got up feeling anxiety. And part of that reason, I'm wondering whether part of the reason for my feeling a little anxious today. Well, yesterday, I did make mention in one of my live streaming last night. I did a live streaming and I discussed about, get this, I spoke with a spiritualist, medium, whatever what you want to call it. And I overall I felt the session went okay. It was the first time I used the person. And later on that, well, just before this session actually started, my first device wasn't working properly. I thought, oh, maybe it's just a little glitch and then it cleared itself up. No, it didn't. And then later on that day in the evening, I used another device, a camcorder that I have, and that it started working and then it cuts itself off. And so when I thought, okay, maybe just something, get the extension cord and use um, the outlet to power the camcorder. And I thought it was going to, I thought it was going to work. And I noticed that there was a light on. So I thought, okay, let me just press the record. But it was stuck. It wasn't, it couldn't even turn off, nothing. And the only way that I just left it. And then in the morning, I went to investigate, trying to figure out what's going on. And it wouldn't shut itself off. The light remained on, and even if you press the button to turn it off, nothing happened. So I had to physically remove the battery in order to shut it off. And so I wasn't able to like even use the screen on the camcorder to have it go on or off. And this was the first time this ever happened. I don't use it a lot, but I used it about a week ago. Everything was working, but just weird. And then it was a third device, and that was my desktop. Yes, I have a desktop, and I turn on the computer, and then I have a monitor attached to it, and the monitor wouldn't go on. And it's the first time that the monitor had that prompt that something about this port, and it's not. I forget the exact wording, but it wasn't coming on. So the computer went on, but not the monitor that's attached to the computer. And it's a brand new monitor. So I said, wow. So that's like 3 devices. And so I was wondering whether or not, like, I don't want to like blame anybody, but I just felt, I was thinking that maybe when you're dealing with things on the spiritual plane or different dimensions, sometimes doors are open and something comes in that you didn't want it to, or the energy, whatever some people call it, the energy fields might affect electronics or whatever, what it is. That my 3 different devices went haywire. So what did I learn about this? Well, I'm seeing a lot about myself. I have been, let's see, I felt a little edgy. And, I did call up the spiritualists and let them know. I say, when my devices aren't working right at the start of the session, and then later on that day, my other devices did X, Y, and Z. And I, no one wants to feel like they're the blame of something. And I felt a little, I felt a little put off, I guess. But in a nutshell, I, I thanked the person for the session they had the other day, and to finalize payments and everything. And, you know, just, thanked her for everything. Oh, she said, hey, maybe you can use sage your apartment. And that's what I was planning on doing. And even before she said that, I have some sage essential oils, and that I actually I put it in my heart chakra area, since that on my body felt affected. I woke up with that sensation in my chest. What's really interesting is that, like, I gave a a prayer, like, I I guess the day yesterday was such a busy day, emotionally very busy for me, with talking to the spiritualists and going out after that. And I was watching a movie on YouTube, and I think I was just getting I felt overloaded. So I said, I wanted to experiment with something. I wanted to keep my camcorder on. It could record in the dark, and it's actually made for paranormal activities. Like, it could record night vision and record anomalies that regular cameras cannot pick up. So I wanted to, like, test it, because I guess, since the door, so to speak, was opened earlier that day, and how I was feeling a little bit, I said, let me just turn it on, and go to sleep with it on. And if any abnormalities occurs during my sleep, the camera will pick it up. That's what my intention was. So I set up the camera, and it was going on, and then it all of a sudden stops. It stopped as I was getting out of bed to get something, and it just like, poof. And I think, like it froze the the camcorder. It When you open up the side panel, um, the light didn't go on, um, and then I couldn't use the button to turn it on, and it was like in limbo. So I got the extension cord, thinking maybe it's a power issue, and then that didn't help it either. But eventually, I did get it to work, the next morning. But I noticed that when the cam, I have to be honest about something. See, again, this is a spiritual journey that I'm going on, and I see that I have fears. And I think deep down, the fear was, what if I capture something on camera while I'm sleeping? And I think that put anxiety on me. I did go to sleep after, you know, but maybe in my sleep or something, maybe it just, I woke up feeling uncomfortable. And I don't remember what I dreamt or anything like that, but I felt uncomfortable, to be honest. And so even when I got up, I feel I know, it's just weird. I don't like feeling this way at all. And I think what I want to say right now is that, life really is short, and no one is God. Whether you go to a spiritualist, A, B, C, or D, these are just human beings, and they're on their path also. Because I felt that I was starting to get angry with the other person. And again, the general session was okay. Um, So I just gotta, I have to put things in perspective. And again, if you're not feeling well and you feel funny in your solar plexus area, that doesn't help in the matter. So I just want to I just want to relax, and whatever will be will be. So that's all that I wanted to. I just wanted to give that as an update. And oh, I remember also the other reason why I'm sharing that aspect, regarding the spiritualists and the anomalies that happen with my electronics, is that um, when you're there were two things that were different with this session versus other sessions that I've had with other spiritualists. The other spiritualists that I've talked to in the past did two things. They had an opening prayer to begin the session with, to give an intent and protection over the parties. That wasn't done. And a closing prayer of protection and like officially closing the doors. And so that wasn't done either. Also, the first time I ever had this done, I gave for myself before I even made any phone call to call the person, or in fact, the other person was to call me actually. That's right. The other two people called me. Um, I gave the time that I was expected for them to come to call. I gave a word of protection in my own home, and that nothing evil will come about, in this transmission. And overall, it was very positive, and we had the session, and then there was a closing prayer. So perhaps and I told the person that I, that did the session yesterday in a text. I said, well, it just dawned on me that in comparison to the other sessions that I had with other people, that there was an opening prayer and a closing prayer, and that wasn't in this one. So I was letting her know, so at least for me in the future, and anybody else who's watching this, that if you too have a, a reading with someone, whether in person or over the phone or Skype, that you make sure if you see that person's going to start a reading without any opening prayer, tell them what, um, please do an opening prayer of protection. It's essential. I strongly believe this. Yeah, I see someone in the chat. Let me see here. Okay. Okay. Okay, this person, the third iris, this person is saying, very interesting. I would think both of your energies as spiritualists increase the power of energy causing the technology to act funny. What was her response? Very good question, the third iris. Yes, I have to be honest, I was a little bit surprised at her response. I called her initially today, and she was in a public place when she answered the phone. There was a lot of interference outside, but her she I was surprised when she said, well, I think she said, I'm not a wizard or something. I can't like fix your electronics or something like that. I was kind of like a little taken back, and I was surprised because she was very encouraging when I spoke to her yesterday. And then okay, it's my little doggy. Okay, put it down. Yeah, and when I went to check my other devices, just to make sure what the status was, because I also told her I wasn't feeling good in my chest. I felt like anxious or funny in the chest. She had, what did she say now? I told her about the opening and closing prayer because I had this done before. And she basically said, well, I'm not like other people. And, I can read the message. Let me just show you. I mean, I'm not actually, I'll read what the message said. Okay, it's on my iPhone. I was just very surprised. Okay, let me get my glasses. And I did feel a little edgy. So I was trying to stay calm, but I have to be honest, I did feel a little irritated. And maybe she picked it up and felt defensive. Okay, let me just read it. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to see my response here. Let's see. Okay. Sure. It could be that some AI broke down that was monitoring you. I don't just talk to past souls. What I did is connected to the God source related to removing you from the stronghold of a satanic being. A lot more could have happened as a result of this. Mediums will never go into the areas of work that I do. Yeah, she seemed a little defensive. I thought there was another text I did. I only see two texts. One of them, let me go back a page. Okay, let me give the original response in the text form because again, I talked to her, let her know how I was feeling and my electronics. Then I rechecked everything, and so I'm just going to read part of it. Okay, I tell her that I sent the last deposit as promised. Then I write, but I am concerned for. Okay, but I am concerned for about my three different devices that are now not working properly. The first device went on the blank in the beginning of our talk. I am wondering whether a prayer of protection was needed before we started the session. The other mediums I've used in the past would do that, and I never had a problem with electronics. I guess you live and learn, and I use my sage to clean my space. Again, thank you for your services. Okay. And then her response was about it could be that some AI, etc. And I thought she was getting defensive about mediums would never go into the areas of work that I do. So I thought I was a little arrogant, I thought, because she doesn't know what other people I'm using and what their expertise are or anything like that. And I feel like with each medium or spiritualist, they have, it's the same ether, so it's not like someone is like only she has contact with God. No, so I respond, yeah, but be as it may, I have to get my devices working. Laugh out loud. I'll check out your. She's going to be on other um, discussion groups, and I say peace and blessings to you, and that's it. So let me see. She seems to be working with lower vibrations, and you seem to be on more positive vibrations. That could be. It's just weird. I felt her response was a little like put off, and I was surprised because yesterday she was positive. And again, it was the first time I used her, and I don't want to knock her. And again, people are afraid of what they might perceive as criticism. And I felt a little funny, and maybe she picked up that I felt a little funny. And I told her I wasn't feeling good when I woke up, and that she was saying that maybe when you clear out energy and things like that, something else could have jumped in. So even when she said that, then I asked her, well, could you check to see if anything was in my place? So she said I couldn't see any, she didn't see anything in my space. Um, but I just felt You're just expressing the truth. Yeah, I wanted to be open with her, and I was concerned because all three devices went on the blank. So, in short, I don't want to hold this against her. Um, Again, what I guess as my chest feels better, I'll be more relaxed and just leave it as such. And again, the overall reading was just a general reading, and each spiritualist reader, has has their own way of doing things, and um, that's all how I want to read. I wish her the best in her work and everything. So yeah, the message of this part is, before you do any spiritual work, whether um, you're doing a past life regression or tarot card readings, and the like, open up with a prayer of protection and intent, and a closing prayer of, it's like closing the door. It's like you have a friend who visits you and then they leave, but you leave the door open and all these mosquitoes come in. I think that's what may have happened. So, so you live and learn, and that's what I was trying to tell her. Hey, you didn't do that. So maybe for her, she'll remember. Hey, do an opening and closing prayer of protection. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. And yeah, when I woke up after I spoke to the spiritualist, yeah, you say laugh out loud. Yeah. Yeah. After I talked to her and everything, I was thinking about women. Like I forget what made me think of this, but I know it was something that happened when I went outside. It's about women and women that you have. I noticed that women are fighting each other. Women all over the world. Like I remember, it had to do with a situation with a management office, and you have a woman from um, another country in the Americas, and I noticed sometimes that, like, I'm born and raised here, but where I live, you have all nationalities and races and everything, and that's what really makes New York City as special as it is. But I see now, there's a lot of tension in the air. People are, I understand, in short, people are, yeah, yeah. Thank you for watching the Third Iris. I noticed that people are fighting and are in competition. People are afraid to lose their jobs. And I noticed that, like, when it's perceived that someone has a position of authority over somebody else, that sometimes it can go to somebody's head. And you don't have to be a female for this to happen. But my experience is with this phenomenon happening with other women. And this individual had done something that I was very surprised at. And I started thinking back in my life how this has occurred. And I want women to know that those of you who are watching and who are in positions, let's say supervisory or management or even upper management, that when you leave work as just another woman. All women are special and important. But in the whole world arena, women, even though women make up, I think, a little bit more than half of the world population, we're underrepresented in the media. In the government. And we're not the ones who are making the laws on the books. And in the US, you see people, when you look at Congress, who do you see? Who do you see? It's overwhelmingly men. And so even though you women raise families, women raise their baby boys, but somehow there's a translation missing of that child to consider the rights of women. Women are the ones, yes, exactly, that women are the ones who teach that whether it be a little boy, little girl, who teaches that child initially is the woman, whether it be a mother, aunt, grandparent, grandma. That child learns how to brush their teeth or tie the little shoes. It's usually a woman that does that. Also, people generally learn how to speak their language by the woman. The mother talks to the child and maybe sings to the child, and the child learns the speech patterns based on the mother. Like, I sound just like my mother. So, there's a bond. But look, like you have other countries like Saudi Arabia. Women are not allowed to drive their cars. They cannot go outside unattended by a male. They have to be accompanied by a male relative, I meant to say. It has to be a male relative. That she can't walk alone with her mother or auntie. You're not allowed. You have to have a male figure who's related to that person. So it has to be the person's uh, father, brother, uncle, grandfather, husband, and that's it. So here, what happened in Saudi Arabia for something like this to happen historically? That here you have a woman who teaches the very first lesson in life for that child growing up, that woman, that mom. And here they create a government that oppresses you, that is actually enslaving you. You really have no rights. And I don't understand that. What happened historically for that to happen? Okay, Third Eye says, men are afraid to lose their power, but it is the woman that is ultimately the creator that created man, if you understand what I mean. Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Exactly. Exactly. That's my point that I'm getting at. There's something that's not being transferred to, it's like if you're in charge of the cash register, if you have complete control over it, you have access to the money. But in this analogy, even though you have a cash register, you don't have access to your cash and someone else does, and making all the rules against you, even though you're the originator of this cash register. There's a problem. So I feel that women are acting like women seem to be almost slave-like, slave with some rights. And again, like in the US, you look in Congress, and who do you see? A sea of men, usually older men. And it baffles me. I said, wow, this doesn't sit right. If almost a little more, just slightly a little more than half of the population on this planet are females. But yet in some countries, it's strictly men. And so again, the woman is not in a subordinate position socially, economically. And I've met women. I've met women, rich women who were married, but when that marriage dissolved, what happened? She lost it all. The husband had the money for a lawyer. He also had the power to get custody over the small children. She became destitute and she lived on the street and became an alcoholic. And this was a woman from a rich community, and she lost everything. And so I'm wondering, so why I'm bringing this up is that, like, let's pretend rather than saying it's a woman's problem, let's use a new label. Let's say it's a so-called minority, whether they be um, Black or Hispanic or Asian. You just change the label, and the same type of things that occur in this dynamics of what happens to women. Again, women get less money than men for the same type of work. So, how did this happen? Yeah, oh, thank you. Thank you. He's like, they like my hair. I thank you. Yes. So, how did that happen? Why do things like this happen, and how to correct this? So, I started analyzing about women. Now, I mentioned a little earlier in this video about this particular woman who was uh, antagonizing me. And then I noticed with other women, like I even worked in this retail, and these two women had a fist fight, and it's all territory, and it's all about control, and it's all about power. And you even have women that call each other the B word. Okay. So we're prejudiced against ourselves. And you've heard of so-called other minority groups being biased against each other, Black on Black crime, Asian on Asian crime, Hispanic on Hispanic, whatever what you want to do. You just use your own label and for this story, but it's happening. But I'm concerned about the plight of women because things are getting more stressful in the world. And I feel that, the role of women is very important. It's essential for the survival of this planet. And I'm concerned that the people on this planet that it's going to perish. And so what could women do if we have to be able to get along with each other. We have to start networking with one another. Let's say you have a community of families, and a lot of women have to go to work. And who's going to take care of that child? This child is going to learn the habits of this other person who's working for a check. And maybe that's part of the problem too. People are working for a check. And so the child has this mentality, well, they're not really important. It's all about money. And rather than about community and women networking with other women, women need to network with other women in their community. And if someone is working, maybe somehow to get connected with the other women in your community, that you help babysit or keep an eye out on these other kids. And so make it like a community, a connectedness. I think, the lack of the sense of community and pitching in, you start to think everybody else is the enemy. And that's what I'm seeing, that we're seeing each other as competitors rather than a foe. I mean, friend, a friend. I'm sorry, a friend. So if you think another woman is your enemy, you know, you're all in the same boat. You even have, yes, hi, Crystal, how you doing? Yeah, right now I'm talking about women and how women need to uh, learn to be friends with other women, and that yes, just tuning in. Yes, women need to learn how to connect with other women, and not see each other as competitors. You have, like, I used to be in the business world. I used to work in the financial district in New York City. And what could happen is this: you do have some women who use their they thank you, Crystal. Yes, you have some women who use their bodies as a weapon. They use their bodies to entice men on the job. They might wear revealing clothes. And yeah, a lot of men like looking at that, and maybe they get promoted too. But it's short lived. Good looks grow old. And I think that some women aren't aware of that. And so if you rely on that element to get you anywhere, there's always a younger model. Men always seem to like the younger models, so to speak. It's like a car. You want a new car or an old car? People always be trading in. And why I share that? Well, I when I was a student, I took this a woman's course, and it was conducted by a woman. She had a doctorate, and she shared with the lecture hall her experience. She used to be the other woman. She met a guy, and she I I I gathered she knew the guy was married, and she went out with him, and she eventually married this guy. So that she divorced. I mean, he divorced his older wife and marries her. Guess what happened? She said she and her girlfriend noticed that their husbands were acting kind of bizarre, and she noticed the husband started changing the way he dressed. He started dressing up, and all of a sudden, he wanted this fancy car. He was in his, she's worded, midlife crisis, and she discovered that the husband was cheating on her with a younger woman. So the same thing, and here this woman that's relating this story to the classroom, she even took care of his kid from that other relationship, and she raised her and taught her how to dress and all these things as if she's the mother. And look at that. So here, and the lady was very pretty, a very, very pretty and intelligent. Her field. She had money, and but she fell into that trap to be the younger model. And then as she got older, and the daughter that she helped raise got older, and then the husband started looking for somebody else, younger, prettier, whatever what you want to call it, bigger boobs, bigger backside, whatever what his taste was. And the same as the job market. You have it. And when a woman feels that she has something over another woman physically, that they rub their noses, rub the other people's noses in it. And it's an arrogance that could happen and develop. And yes, she has a sense of power, but look what happened. She could easily fall into that trap, like the rich woman that I knew, and she told me her story. Her husband had control of the money. She was a housewife. She didn't have power of the purse. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. She didn't have the power of the purse. And the other lady, my school teacher, professor, she didn't have power of youth anymore. It's always changing. And what you do to others, it will come back to you. And so my message in doing this is not, I don't want to shame anybody, but just be in awareness that you know, rather than fighting against and butting heads with each other, women, that we need to come together. The world, the planet is in a crisis. You have men in government right now, and they're taught warfare, they're taught aggression. And women have to start teaching men. Yes, men should be taught how to protect their families, their wife. But I notice men aren't social. It's like when a man is in his house, he just wants to stay in his house in his what do you call it? His cave, so to speak. But it's the women that go uh, shopping for food and interact with people on a basic level, the essentials of life, buying food, buying clothes, and other activities. And I think men need to learn how to interact more on a social level rather than just staying home watching TV. And yes, you have women who do that too, who maybe just stay home, watch TV, whatever, and not going out and interacting with others. We need to learn how to interact with others. And it's not being done, I think. And I mean, just look at what's happening in the government now. And, people pressing buttons and of warfare and things like that. And the things that come out of some of the people's mouths, it's frightening. It's frightening. And you know what happens also in business? Sometimes you have women that feel like they have to act like men to keep a job. They start to kind of have a male persona. I mean, some women just have a leadership quality. I'm not talking about that. You could be a woman and have leadership qualities, but not act like a man. You know what I mean? It's a difference. And so you have some women, they take on the role of the people that have been socially oppressing them, just like what certain ethnic group does, minority groups do. They start to act like when they get a little something, little money or power, they start to act like the people who historically have oppressed them, the same type of behavior. And it's sad. It's sad. It's like we have to check ourselves. I have to check myself too. I have to, like, hey, how am I acting right now? Am I doing this or that? How am I treating someone who may not have as much money? So it's like I'm very aware now how or what I'm giving off. You know, I see where I live a lot of homelessness, and it can happen to any of us. I was watching a video earlier today that what was that? It was in what state? In Georgia. I forgot to look at the date when it was posted, but their food stamps got cut. Something there was some glitch, and it locked out the money, and people couldn't get food. Couldn't buy their food. I Something tells me this is what I really think was going on, that the government is testing to see what will happen when they just make a little tweak. Let's say let's withhold this money and see how quickly they respond and how they're going to respond, because I sense that they're trying to instigate. That's right, yes, they're trying to instigate people so they can put in this martial law. That's what I really believe what they're trying to do. They're testing the grounds to see how far that they'll go. Okay. And what happens when people who don't really have money, who rely on food stamps to live, they're going to get hyper, I think, and get excited. They might riot. And who's the one again that's um, about getting the food? Who usually gets the food in the home? Women. So here it's a very delicate balance. We're very fortunate in the United States to have food stamps. I don't know about other nations, but the United States has food stamps. I don't know about the world out there. We're very fortunate. but things could be taken away. And so what happens if things are taken away? The women are going to be probably fighting. Have you seen videos? People fighting for a toy for their kid for the holidays? They'll fight. Women against women. And when women start to move up, they might try to pull down other women so that they'll be on top. And it's the same thing what I see other groups do. But in the end, you as a group, you don't go anywhere. Women are still in a similar type of situation, economically, 30 years ago. So when I see things like women fighting on the job, it was a retail job I had, I said, this is ridiculous. Or if you belong to a different ethnic group, it's a lot of that cattiness. Like both of you might be from, let's say, the Caribbean, but you're from different islands, and they'll compete with each other and want to, take advantage. It's just really getting ugly. No matter what your race you are, or what island you're from, you're still, or what nationality, you're still a woman. And when you leave that office or that field, you come home to a house, and what do you have to do? You have to do all the cleaning usually. You have to do all the cooking of the food. And if you have a guy or husband there, he's not helping out. And so you have double work. You have to work outside of the house, and you have to work in the house. And the guy, he's just concerned about outside. So again, you have double work, and you make less pay, and you think the other woman is your enemy. And it's not the case, because you're all in the same boat. And rather than seeing that you all are the same, what you do, well, I want to try to do something to outdo the other woman. I'll get butt injections and boob injections. And you're fighting against yourself, because you hear about those things. They rupture. The breast implants, they can rupture, and you can get sick and die. All those things. And they do it to keep a guy, to get it's no, not for 2018. Ladies, don't do it. Don't do it. A lot of you might think you're working, it's working for you now, but it's short-lived, because it's always a younger, prettier, smarter woman, whatever what the flavor of the month is. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm really sad about how people are getting, they're forgetting where they come from. And I'm meeting people from other countries, women from impoverished countries, and they come to the US, and then they start to, they get a nice job or something, and then they want to oppress somebody else who's perceived as being smaller. And it's sad. I'm thinking about, say, have any of you ever heard of these? It's a 80-20 in New York City. They have, New York City has a lot of these new high rises being built, and they're residential buildings, and these corporations who are building these high rises, they want to get a low interest loan to get the project made. Okay. And so they come to the government for a low interest loan, and then the government says, we'll give you a low interest loan, but we want you to have X number of people of certain incomes to be able to reside in some of the units of the building. So the agreement is made. And so, but the status of this is an 80-20. But the people in the 80-20 are being mistreated. that you pay your rent. Money is money, but it's the perception that because you're not paying the full value of the unit, but again, the management forgets that it got the cheaper interest loan and probably other benefits by having these other people. And again, the people that move into them, you have to have excellent credit. They are really observed very closely. Everything's examined, their background, everything, and they do the examination twice of their economics and other factors that they look into. And okay, this talk is so needed now. Yeah, I thank you, Crystal. Yes, this 80/20 building that they get in, and but they're these tenants, they're excellent tenants just to get accepted. The process is so stringent. There are people who are regular tenants, and the police had when the police have to come to the scene and then they put that yellow tape, do not enter. Something happened. The person was thrown out or something, and that's a regular tenant. They were from another some country in Europe. I'm not going to say which country, but so you can have money and you could be a bad tenant, okay? But they're going to target these people who are 80/20 because because whatever. And there was a person in the management office, and it was a disrespect. Rather than processing the paper in an office, they did it in a lobby where the elevators are. And then they sent out this letter. Oh, if you don't recertify, of course you're going to recertify. You'd be stupid not to recertify. You have to do it every year, and they do the paperwork. And, it was a threatened letter, threatened to evict them. And this was a good tenant, current on rent, everything. So it's a lack of respect. And then this person is a person from a third world country. She has a kid. I don't think she's married. But it's like she's, has her nose up in the air. Hey, you don't have a husband. You can lose your job. You can get sick. Your child could get sick, and you have to mind the child. You may not be able to afford the babysitter anymore. Anything can happen. And you're doing this to another woman. That's what I'm getting. I'm really irritated. I'm really irritated about how women they forget where they come from. And that's the key thing. Women, you have to remember where you come from. Many of us don't come with a gold purse. We're not born with a gold spoon in our mouth. Many of us are sexually abused as children, right? We seem to forget that. Many of us are beaten, are physically abused as children because you're a woman. A lot of things happen. And then we grow up, we become adults, and then we treat our fellow woman who's probably went through the same thing or maybe even worse. And then we start to work with each other. Then it's this competition. But the man, he's not doing that to the same extent. Men, they could go out, go fishing, go to a club, what they call male bonding. I'm sorry, I got a hair in my eye. I'm sorry. They can do all these things. But women aren't coming together. Women are sleeping with each other's guys. I used to live in the Caribbean, and people were sleeping around with everybody else's, everybody's sleeping with each other. But women in the Caribbean are abused. Women often are, I knew someone from my job who was murdered by her boyfriend. She was hammered over the head. And she even had a police, what do you call it, a restraining order against him. But he came back after that restraining order. He was going to leave the island. He even went to the airport, and he comes back. He doesn't get on the plane. Goes back to his former house where the girlfriend lived. Got a hammer and clobbered her to death. And the young toddler was in the bed with her when he did that. I kid you not. I knew of this person. Yeah, I saw her on a Wednesday, and then that Sunday morning, she was murdered. You know, women, your positions are very, very delicate. Just like what happened in Georgia about the government wanted to. Well, I shouldn't say. Well, I speculate that it wasn't an accident, and they withheld the food stamps and the so what will happen if this happens again in your community? Where you're going to riot? Rioting is not going to get the food on the table. But networking and learning how to maybe plant a garden, like some of you who might have been following me on my channel earlier last year, I showed you how to plant things, plant seedlings in your apartment. Try to grow food. If you don't, because many of us we don't use our hands. You know, we don't know how to do anything. We don't know how to sew anymore. We don't know how to do repairs in the house. We definitely don't know how to garden in this big cities. We have to start learning skills. It's not a man's job anymore. You as women have to learn, because many of you living in, you're with a single head of household, especially if you're a Black woman or West Indian. Most of us live in single female head of household, and there's no man in the picture. So you got to learn how to do things. Something happened on a social level, on a major national level. You have to be able to network and know who your neighbor is. That other woman that might have kids just like you. There's power in numbers, and there's powers in getting to know each other, work together, rather than saying, well, I'm going to put this outfit on to show off, to show up so and so, and so make her look bad and this and that. It's short-lived. Don't even try it. Don't even try it. You even have these performers who could outdo another performer. And they it's the flavor of the month. This one performer felt that, she worked in a strip joint, and she used all this money so that she get bigger boobs and a butt job. She should have used that money to maybe start her own business or maybe go to school. But no, so you can get trapped in that type of job. You don't want that. I found out the person did get out of that job, but still. But some women never get out of that type of job. And then you get angry. And then you just do it's you do all this stuff to try to get a guy. It's nice to have a nice guy, but it's not an essential to life happiness. And that's what I learned. Happiness is with or without a partner. That happiness have to start within. And that's what I'm learning on this spirit journey. I was raised just like any other female in this country, and thinking that happiness is when you're in a relationship. And so if you're not in a relationship, many of us get depressed, right? You think, oh, well, maybe I will wear these clothes, or I get this body enhancement done. And these guys, they whatever what flavor of the month. And I was in the military, and it didn't have to do that. She wasn't pretty enough. They just go. The guys just went where it was just a mindset. Yeah, it was their mindset, many of them. It had nothing to do that the lady wasn't pretty. The person was attractive. Just like my professor was a really pretty woman, but men get bored or whatever. You know, it's just life, what it is. And so the essence of what I'm saying here is, to value yourself and value your other women, and learn to, this illusion of race and nationality. Because no matter what your race or nationality is, you're still a woman, and you before those same vulnerabilities. So rather than fighting each other, get to know other women, get to know about other cultures and things like that. I was always fascinated about um, other people. I used to live in a neighborhood, and I didn't speak the languages of the store owners, but I was fascinated with hearing foreign languages and eating different types of foods. I'm that type of person. Yeah, I'm always I always am interested, and so sometimes other women may not realize I'm this way, and they may think, oh, challenging them, or think that I'm better than them, and no, I because I've been through so much as a female, and so I value being around other women, I guess, for a sense of protection and sisterhood, because I know what could happen. I've seen it. I've seen a lot, and there's a lot of hurting women out there. A lot of abuse, sexual abuse, a lot of trauma, and some women are being beaten, being thrown down the stairs. I know of two different women who were thrown down a flight of stairs by their so-called boyfriend. How could that be a boyfriend, someone doing physical harm to your body? They miscarried. Both women miscarried. Okay? It's sad. This world is really crying out. And I just want us to get to know one another. Um, we have to, as women, we have to, the men aren't doing something right. Something's not right. We have to, as women, because women are smart. Men are smart too, but women are the social fabric of society. And I think women could heal the problem. Like whether it be Trump, his wife got it. Hey, buddy, calm down. Women, you got to use your feminine scruples in the right way to tame the beast, to get him sane up here, to be rational, to be humane. The GMOs that are being put in the food, the stuff they put up in, the chemtrails, that's killing us. I don't think women are doing that. I think men are doing that. Because women, we're alive. We have wombs. We understand about cycles. We're in tune to more in tune to nature. Yes, some men are in tune to nature too, but women, because of their anatomy, that they hold the baby, they're connected to life. They bring in life in the world. So I think with that type of power, that to get together as women to facilitate peace, maybe there could be a movement, and women gather and go to the United Nations or something to say, hey, stop this fighting, stop this bombing, all this bombing, killing life. It has to stop. I think prayer also, whatever what your prayer system is, to ask for that higher power to bring harmony into this world, to bring your family. Let's say, it begins within the home. And a lot of the homes are in a mess. Yeah, There's problems in my home too, but somehow we have to break it. And I think, and I'm really hoping that with prayer, and that it our prayers are heard, and then action. Action say, I'm going to talk words of peace. I'm going to walk in integrity. I'm going to, be considerate of people when I walk in the street, not to bang into people when we walk in, to say thank you. Other, things like that. Start smiling, saying hello to one another. Just because that other woman doesn't look like you or talk like you or dress like you, acknowledge each other as women. And I think it'll greatly help, you know. I want to now talk about something else. I was watching a movie last night, and I was surprised. Um, they already have the male counterpart of this movie, something like it. Like, um, well, this movie that the preview, it was an Jewish Orthodox community. I don't remember the name of the movie, but Jewish Orthodox women, and in a nutshell, it's about lesbianism. One of the characters, uh, was married, and I think the other lady became a widow, and they show these women um, in a sexual situation, and then the husband finds out. I notice now it seems like the movie industry is really challenging different paradigm beliefs and gender relations. I think last month or so they had this other movie. It's with two males, and it seems like both movies are going to be playing. Well, both movies will be playing in neighborhoods that um, uh, one is kind of like a wealthy neighborhood, and then the other one is like um, a real trendy. But it's not like in the main theater. It's not being played there. And so I see that they're conditioning people to accept certain lifestyles. Again, whatever what your lifestyle, if you're an adult, your lifestyle is your lifestyle. But I feel that it's social engineering. You have people who don't know whether they're a boy or a girl. And then now to put in this movie with, and again, this is supposed to be a Jewish Orthodox community, and so that's a big taboo. So it's jumping, it's penetrating even the mainstream religions. That historically is something that, for one thing, adultery is a no-no. But here, so it was adultery through lesbianism. Why is the media, Hollywood, now showing same-sex unions? And in particular, I'm concerned about that for the Black community, because I feel that it's to make it so that you don't reproduce, and community. Now, if you have the same sex union, how can a community grow in that union? And I feel it's being encouraged in the Black community that look in your community, if especially if you're a Black person or West Indian, who's getting the jobs, the jobs in those nice little new shops and things like that, and certain businesses, mainstream businesses. I find that, at least here in New York City, that they seem to be accepting in the private sector jobs men that seem to have a more feminine way about them. you know. And the only time you see what they call a straight acting male is someone who's begging on the street or something like that, or these civil service jobs. But mainstream private sector jobs, I don't really see it. And that concerns me. So it's making me feel that uh, the business are saying, I'll hire you, black man, if you act like a woman or if you're gay. And so that I consider that social engineering. But again, if someone wants to act and be in that type of relationship and they're adults, that's their business. That is their, you know, hands off. But social engineering and oh, okay, someone else is saying and more. I have to, and Morris. Overpopulation is the I think she meant to say agenda of the okay. And I could say that word, yeah. Yes. Absolutely social engineering. Yeah. So again, it's not to be against if you want to choose that type of life. So that's your business. If you're an adult, whatever what you do behind closed doors, in my opinion, is your business. Just like what I do behind my closed doors is my business. But social engineering is what I'm talking about. And to put it up in movies and now attacking this Orthodox Jewish community through this movie of two lesbians. And I just saw the advertisement on it yesterday. I was shocked. But there's a male counterpart movie, not that in this other movie, it's not Jewish Orthodox, but I forget what country, whether it's in Europe or the US, I forget. But it's like a young guy and then an older guy, and the younger guy is acting very, he's acting like a first love, how a young girl will act, and because has eyes for a little slightly older guy. Hey, how you doing? Yes, yes. Costco Kelly, yes. It's good to see you too. Hello. So, oh, and let's see, pardon type. Yes, yes, I know that, and it's okay. But so I'm concerned. I'm really concerned about what's going on and safety. If it's happening in the Black community or West Indian community, it's going to happen. It's going to trickle down into other communities. Now they're targeting this Hasidic, not Hasidic, Jewish Orthodox community in this movie. Oh, I almost saw it with the male counterpart. Now, again, I didn't see the movie, just the preview. But again, they openly show the the physical embracing and the kissing, and I'm because I see if a young person is seeing that, I think it's going to confuse, and I think that's also why it's being done to confuse. So that I don't like. If this is social, if it's just by chance, then it's just by chance. But I think it's by design to socially engineer. And again, someone suggested, yes, it's about population control. But whose population they want to control? I believe it's people of color, the first ones, especially the Black male and the Black female. That it's like they're saying, I'll award you with a good job. I'll award you. I used to. I mean, I worked in many industries. This one job, they only used the Black guys there for the security work. And if you were in security, the what do you call it, the phone center, and I worked in the phone center away from the customers, directly. Visually, they only wanted the customers to see a white face back then. This is in the 1980s. But years forward, I went to visit. This was maybe 10 years ago. I saw a Black male working there at the desk. It was a jewelry company, and I'm not going to mention the name of the jewelry company, but it's a very high end jewelry company. But the man had a very feminine way about him. And I think he also had some makeup on. So it's like, if I buy from a man, I want a man to look like a man, you know. Why isn't it okay to have a straight male selling jewelry, you know? Or let's say I want to buy something for whether it be a husband, boyfriend, whatever. I want to see it on a real man. I might want the man to put it on. You know, you know what I'm getting at. But I feel it's being denied me, and it's denying children to see straight acting people in our community in respectable jobs. If you only see a straight acting person in the sports or a singer, that's all they're going to want to do. But we have to expose our children to all types of occupations. And I think that's why a lot of us are limited, because we don't go outside of the boundary, outside of community, of what type of stuff is out there. You have, ladies especially, you have to introduce your children to different occupations. Maybe take trips to the museum or visit, go to the library and look about different what types of occupations that are out there, something has to be. Exactly, yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, someone has to show them, and the woman could do it. See that? You don't realize how much power you have, woman. That you have power over the world through your family, through your interaction of your children, your husband. It's all up to you. You don't realize it. The power is in your own hand. Start when you look in the mirror, start telling that to yourself, that I have the power to change the world, and I don't have to compete and show off to another woman to get a man's attention, whatever. No, you don't have to. Let them pursue you. Let the man pursue you. Stop trying to pursue the guy. He's going to make a choice. And if you feel that, challenge him. You say, you know something? Yes, I like you, but you have to choose. I'm not going to run after you. Either you want A, B, or C. You choose, and who you choose, you stick with. Right? Yeah, stop the nonsense. Yeah, I've seen a lot of things in the military. They want to choose all the women. No, there's diseases out there. There are diseases. People are still dying of AIDS. Yeah, people are still dying of AIDS. That just reminded me of something. I've mentioned this woman before. Her name is Meghan Markle, the fiance of Prince William, the Prince of Britain. I was thinking about her. I'm really curious about her as an individual and her background. I feel it's not an accident that she is now engaged to Prince William. And I say this because, like, her background, she was going to Catholic school, during elementary school, and she mentioned about this movie. They're watching a movie, then a commercial came on, and about this laundry. I'm sorry, dishwasher detergent, and uh, they had a slogan about women in America cleaning greasy pants, something like that. And thank you. You are on the money. Thank you, Anne. There was a woman who, I mean, the commercial said that women, cleaning pots and pans all over the world, something about that. And the boys in the room said, that women's job is in the home, something like that. It was stigmatizing women, that their place is in the house. and it offended her. She went to her father, and her father, yeah, it's awful by division. Yeah, the father said, "Well, why don't you write a letter?" And she wrote a series of letters. And what I find interesting when I started analyzing it is that she I don't know who told her which people to contact, but she knew names, and she knew the names of influential people, and she also contacted the company. But not, but what is interesting is that they eventually responded to her letter. She was 11 years old at the time. And the company who did the commercial changed it and made it more gender friendly, to both genders, not to offend women. And I thought that was amazing. And that would boost anybody's confidence. And then she gets into television work, TV, television, yeah, and movies. And then it was just happenstance that she has a mutual friend, and this mutual friend uh, gave an introduction, and that's how the two met. But I feel that, like, how many of you have ever written a letter because you were unhappy about something? And how many of you got an answer? You have people who write letters, who call, who make the phone calls, all these things, and they never heard. But she was heard. And not only that, but this Meghan Markle had, what was the other thing? I think it was UNICEF asked her to be a spokesperson for something else, something with women. It's not by accident. I think this person was ordained in some form when she was born. Just like Obama, and like Obama and like her, a biracial offspring, but having access that other people don't have the same access. You know, she's more of an open book because people saw her, on the television show, and she was in the movies. But Obama, it's a big part of him. People don't know. They only know the part that you saw 10 years ago when he was a senator in Chicago. But getting back to Meghan Markle, so I strongly feel that there's something about her. Now, the fact that she is from racially the background that she is, and for this mutual friend to introduce her is um I don't want to say the negative, but it's something to notice. Why did this mutual friend again? Both of them are very attractive people. They're both talents, But I'm curious, and so I'm getting at is that things are by design, and it's a time and season, and someone probably higher up made an arrangement and knew that this was going to happen. At least I feel it was set up for them to meet, for them to even marry. I mean, he had Prince William had other um, girlfriends, people who are culturally, from his background, and these girls must have known a little bit that they were going to be hounded by the media. So I'm wondering what is to come about this union. I feel that when they marry, if they marry, and when they marry, that something is going to be facilitated through this union. And that's what I'm really curious about. Nothing that you see, because again, you can have 10 people write the 10 similar letters and they never heard. Why are some people heard and others are ignored? It's about purpose. There's beings out there, people who, you may not think you're being watched. Everybody's being watched. And some are being watched even closer. And introductions are made. That's what I think. It should be really interesting. And yes, I'm going to watch this union very closely. I'm curious, and I do want to watch when they get married. I'm going to watch. I wasn't into the royal family before, but this, for those reasons, because of her background, is why I'm going to be observing what's going to happen. And I hope, I wish that whatever how it swings, just because someone gets engaged does not mean that it's going to, people get engaged and people fall out of engagement. But I think they're going to get married. But anything could happen. And but what happens, that they both be safe and they both be sound. Uh, you know, that things work out for both of them. Um, yeah, bingo. Yes. So this year is some year. I feel it, and I think that's also why I wake up now like this anxiety in the chest. I sense it. I sense this. It's a major paradigm shift, and I want to really get grounded. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. That I need to stay grounded and not to let all these things that happen around me, the growing homelessness, uh, feeling targeted sometimes. It's just it's just what it is, what it is, you know. So I hope you guys are, are doing well out there. And let me know what your experiences are. Do you feel that you're getting things are happening to you? Are you also on a spiritual journey like myself? What happens when you go to, let's say, you're around relatives or family members? How are they receiving you? Do they understand you? You know, that it's something to notice. And it takes a lot of courage. And yes, I get scared. I get scared. I don't want to act like I know it all. I'm Miss Tuffy. I'm very I'm very vulnerable. I'm like everybody else. I have the same concerns. About paying bills and everything. And I just think that the people in charge is really trying to manipulate the social system and testing you and seeing how you react. That's how I feel. I feel um, that people are trying to press my buttons to respond a certain way. So I have to. I have to. I have to keep centered, and it's hard. It's hard out there. I feel that when you're honest about your feelings, especially in this channel, that I'm sure other people are going through the same thing, and that to show one's vulnerability, that I have weaknesses, and strengths too. That people say, hey, I could be honest with myself and be honest in their dealings with others. That's also my goal with this. That what I say helps other people become aware of their emotions and their feelings, and how they respond to other people. I just feel uh, that that the season is changing rapidly, and I think it's a lot. I think people are going to be deceived. and it's just going to cause a ruckus. But we have our spirituality, and that spirituality, we should focus on. And I can't save the world, but if I could save myself and have a feeling good inside, you know, I don't want anyone to steal my joy away from me. That's the real power, to be able to keep your power even in sorrow, even if you lose your job or you lose your health or you become homeless or something. I want for all of us and myself to be able to say, I fought a good fight, and I know that I stand centered, and know that I'm doing right inside. Yeah, that's ultimately my goal, you know. So it is what it is. So yeah, okay, and wrote uh, light, much light and infinite protection. I tection to you and yours. Yeah, yes. So I'm learning some of the lingo there. Yeah, thank you again. Yes. So I hope you guys like this live streaming this Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night I like to stay at home and just relax, watch videos or upstream in this case. I like it. I like the intimacy of this. I appreciate you all to watch my channel and watch my ups and my downs. Yeah. And it means a lot. I enjoy your live chats, and you're real. You're real. So you just pat yourself on the back too, that you accomplish another day. Uh, you can breathe, and you know you have all that. You have you. You always have you, no matter what others do to you. So that's something to celebrate. So with that last note, I'm going to say have a splendid, safe evening. Pray for yourself, your family, your nation, a prayer of protection and rationality. Okay? So take care. Bye bye.